everyone, welcome to the stitch along. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join and then we'll get started. Hi Rosie, nice to see you. We'll just wait for a few people to get started and then we will get going. I've got a treat for you today. We're going to talk about needle sizes. Very interesting. Hi everybody. We'll just wait for a few more people to join and then we'll get going. I'm so glad people are joining after 3 weeks. Not bored of me yet. Right, I think I'm going to get started and then as people join I can always do a bit of a recap. Hopefully you will have a hoop that looks like this now. So we've done the eucalyptus and we've done these grasses up here. And today we're going to do the spiky grasses. And I'm just going to grab one actually. These are the spiky grasses that I had that I was drawing when I did this pattern. So they've got sort of a main body and then I wanted to kind of create this sort of halo of sort of spiky, sort of really thin, sort of furry spikes in the embroidery. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that today. And on the pattern they are this one, and this one, and so we're gonna try and end up with something that looks a bit like this. So spiky and hopefully a bit sort of like a little bit like these. This is really furry, so it's quite hard to replicate, but we're giving it a go. So the way that we're going to do this is a little bit different and a bit more random than we've done in the other two elements that we've already done. So I'm going to build up the stitches just with one thread, and we're going to keep building it up until we get the kind of effect that we want. So I'm going to get going and start on that. For this we're going to just use one thread. Now in the first week I think I was telling you about different needle sizes and which needle sizes to use for different things. So I've got a few needles here. I just wanted to show you these are a few different needle sizes that I use. So this little tiny one here is the one that I use when I'm using one thread, and that is a size 9 needle. So the higher the number, the smaller the needle in embroidery needles. So I get all my needles from John James Needles, JJ Needles, and I've actually just ordered loads. So I might put some on the website. But this is like I said, a size 9 needle, and I find that perfect for one thread work. And then the other two that I use are, this is a size 5 needle, and I tend to use that for 2 threads, and then I have a size 4 needle here for sort of 3 threads upwards. And really when you're looking at a needle and the needle sizes, what you want to do is match the thread to the thickness of the needle, because you don't want it to be hard to pull through, but you also don't want to have a hole around your thread when you're stitching. So generally you're just trying to have a look at your thread, see how thick your thread is, and then try and match the needle width to your thread. If you have a needle that's too big for your thread, you'll end up with a hole around your thread wherever you've poked it through. If you have it too small, it will end up like really struggling to pull it through, and it being like quite hard work to actually work with it. So that's kind of a little bit of a guide to needle sizes, because I know it's a bit confusing to start off with, but you can't go far wrong if you just have a look at the thread and then try and match it up to the needle. If you buy a pack of embroidery needles that have got all different sizes, then you can just have a look and just judge it by eye really, and how it feels when it's going through the fabric. So what we're going to do is today we're going to do building up lots of threads with just the one thread, lots of sort of layers with one thread. And for this grass I'm going to use the two, I was using these 3 beigey colours for the grass, and I'm going to use, in the last week we used the darker 2, and this week I'm going to use the lighter 2. So I'm going to use the really pale one and the mid coloured one for this. I am going to, now I don't know where I've put my needle. Oh, there it is. I'm always losing my needles, and my husband is always moaning at me because he stands on them. And I just kind of say, well, that's what it's like living with an embroiderer. So he doesn't get a lot of sympathy, which he says if it was the other way round, then I'd go mad at him, which I probably would, to be fair to him. So I'm just going to thread this needle up. Sorry, just bear with me, I'm struggling because I'm trying to do it through the camera. There we go. Right, so this is just one thread. I'm just going to do a little knot in the end. And how I do knots is I wind them round my finger twice, and then I pull them off the end and I pull the knot down like that, and that creates a little knot in the end quite easily. It's quite an easy way of doing it. So what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to work out from the middle outwards and just start off with the darker of the 2 threads, just trying to create a base, which I'm then going to make the spiky ones kind of come out from. So if you have a look at the one I've already done, it's got a shape to it, and then I've almost come out from that shape. So the first thing to do is to build up that shape by working your way from the middle outwards in a kind of chevron pattern, going, whoops, that's just popped out. That quite often happens to me. There we go. So I try and always go back in quite near where I've come out, because it saves thread on the back, but sometimes that means that I come out exactly where I went back in, and then it just pops out the thread. So if that happens to you, it's not a big deal, you just carry on. Now something's got tangled at the back there, so can you see I've made a little knot? So I'm just going to pull that really tight, and hopefully, oh no, I've broken it. So what I was hoping for then was that the knot was going to pull out, but I was too strong. So what I will do to fix that, so this is quite good because I can show you how to fix problems when things go wrong, because they go wrong to the best of us. So I've broken my thread. What I'm going to do to fix that is to just discard the bit that I've snapped off for now. So that bit there has got a knot in it, so I'm going to pull that bit out and discard that for now, and we can use that later. And I'm just going to re-thread the bit that snapped. And this is always what you can do. If you get in a really big tangle at the back, you can always just cut it off and then just start again. So that's the really good thing about embroidery, is it's not really a big deal, because you can always cut stuff out and start again if it goes wrong. And it does quite often go wrong. And sometimes I just don't like the look of something that I've done. So I just we'll cut it out and start again. So from the middle outwards, and I'm sort of making these sort of chevron shape, just as a bit of a guide to start off with, and then I'm going to build it up from there. And this is the darker of the two, I think I said that, but I'll say it again. So again, like I did in the first week, I'm almost doing some of these stitches to show myself the way that I want my stitches to go before I then fill it in and keep going with it. Right, that's got quite short now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie that off at the back. So tie it off at the back by just popping it under some of the threads that are already there and just tying that off. Now you can see the back of my work is really quite messy. I talked about this again in the first week. Sorry if I'm repeating myself, but there are a few new people, I think, joining. I'm not really that bothered about the back of my work. Some people are, and they like it to be really neat, and like sort of traditional embroidery, the back should be as neat as the front, but I don't know, I just feel like life's too short, really. So I don't really worry about that sort of thing, and no one's going to see the back, so why worry about it, really? I mean, I might have people telling me off now, but I'm just a bit lazy, I guess, and I'm kind of a bit messy in life in general, so just reflected in my embroidery. So I carry on. Yeah. Maybe actually my embroidery is a metaphor for my life. Is like it looks really neat on the outside, and then it's slightly chaotic under the surface. But I have got 2 young children, so you have to let me off. Right. So when you're working with one thread, it takes quite a lot longer to kind of cover the areas that you want to do, but you do get a very different effect. So you get quite a delicate, fine effect, which is really quite nice. And it's really good for if you want to do what I call needle painting, which is where you blend colours. So you maybe can blend one petal. You can blend like maybe 2 or 3 colours of the colour of the petal to really make it look a lot more realistic. Someone who's amazing at that is a lady called Emily Ferris. You should check out her Instagram. She's really amazing with needle painting, and she does loads of kind of butterflies and bees and things, and they're really like hyper realistic almost. So check her out if you want to have a look at some really cool embroidery. And I think I might do a bit of a session on needle painting after we finished this, just because I think it's something that people aren't sure about, and I think it might be a good one to just show people how to do it. A few people, when they've been doing my kits, have asked me questions about how to blend colours and needle painting, so I thought maybe that might be a good one to do. Whoops, sorry. So as you can see, we're sort of building up that the shape of the grass. So I want all of the stitches to go upwards and outwards from the centre. But in a minute I'm going to start making it a bit messier, because I want it to look a bit more natural. And I'm being quite random with this one. I'm not kind of doing it across like I did with the eucalyptus. I'm doing it more random because I want it to look more random at the end. So I'm just going to keep sort of doing the stitches. But now I'm going to start making them like longer and shorter and cross them over each other a little bit, so it looks a bit more natural. So I'll do, and I won't go all the way to the edge with some, and I will cross them over, and we're just building up the layers of this fuzzy grass. Whoops. Now, I've done something a bit silly there, which is let it get a bit too short before I've tied it off. So if you do this, I'll show you kind of a bit of a... So I've let it get too short because I was too busy chatting. And now I'm going to struggle to thread it as well. Right, there we go. So what I need to do now is push it through to the back. And if I can, I'll try, yeah, I've got enough. I'll just try and go underneath some of the threads that are already there. See, I haven't got enough. So what I'll do, if I haven't got enough, is I'll just try and do a little knot in it. So this is something that you can do when you're at home as well. So you see there's 2 threads on that make up part of your thread. So if you split those apart and then do a knot, then that can help you tie it off. And there you go. Okay, and I'm just going to cut off. Right, so I'm going to keep, am I going to keep going with the light thread? Yes, I think I'm going to keep going with the light thread. So I'm going to keep going with this light thread for now, and then we're going to layer up the darker thread in a minute. So in terms of sort of how long you want your thread, when you're working like this with one thread and not particularly long stitches, you probably want your thread, I normally measure from my arm, my hand to my armpit, and then that's about the right sort of length. Sometimes when you're doing like really long, a lot of long stitches, you want it longer than that because you run out of thread too quickly. But this, you know, I'm not doing massively long stitches, so about from your arm to your armpit is about right. I think I might just said my elbow, but I mean my armpit. So hand to armpit length. So I'm going to now start just crisscrossing it over at the in the middle, so that I don't have that really sort of dominant line. At the moment I've got this sort of dominant line and I want to make it a lot more natural and a lot more fuzzy. So I'm going to start coming up in different places and doing different lengths of stitches, and actually also going outside that line that I've created with my pen, and just starting to layer up some different shapes on top. So can you see that one I've done from there to there? Then I'm going to go maybe from there across to there, and I'm going to start layering it over the green so that that green starts being sort of softened and merged with the grass, because this grass is supposed to be in front of the eucalyptus, so we want to make it look like it's in front of it. Then we need to overlap it. Has anyone got any questions? You're all very quiet tonight. Sorry if I sound a little bit croaky. I've got really bad hay fever again tonight. So don't worry, I'm not poorly. I've just got a croaky hay fever voice. Hope everyone's well. I've kind of got settling into the lockdown life and feel like I'm in a little bit of a bubble with me and my kids, which is kind of strange but quite nice. But I know obviously that quite a few people must be affected much worse than me at the moment, so I'm sending out love to everybody and just hoping that a bit of stitching can take your mind off whatever problems or worries you've got at the moment, whether it's financial or whether it's about your family or people you know. But I'm just hoping that a bit of stitching is a bit of a light relief and just something to keep your hands and minds busy in this strange time. Right, so we're getting there with this colour, I think. A few more stitches just to really build that up. I think we're missing a bit down here, and this edge down here. I think we need a few more dark ones over here. So So that's nice. It gives me a sense of calm and connectedness. Yeah, I think the thing is with embroidery, it's quite repetitive, and it's that kind of why are you okay. It's quite repetitive, so you don't have to think too much about it, but it takes your mind off things. But you can also kind of do it while you're watching the telly if you just want to keep your hands busy. But if you just want a bit of peace and quiet, I've been finding actually that I've been looking after my kids, and you know, that's quite full on, and just coming up like when my husband gets home and just sitting by myself and doing a bit of stitching is kind of just helping me to just have a little bit of quiet time. So, and then there's probably people that have had too much quiet time, and hopefully it will help them too, but in a different way. Right. So you see that I've sort of started to really build that up, and just what I feel like it needs. Whoops. See, what I've done there is this tail is too long, so now I've got both the tail there, so I've just made sure that I've unhooked it. So what I feel like it needs when I'm looking at it, so this is a good thing to do when you're stitching, is to just have a look at it and sort of assess what you're doing, is I feel like there's still a bit too much of an obvious line in this middle bit, so I feel like I need some that just go sort of straight up from the centre. So I'm going to do a few of those, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and mix in some of the darker brown, of the lighter, sorry, I've lost what I'm doing. Right, just trying to make it look really natural and quite random and not too neat. Right, so I'm just going to tie that off at the back now, and then I'm going to get some of the other colour. So that was the lighter colour. So I am actually going absolutely bonkers here. So that was the darker colour. That was the lighter colour. So I'm now going to layer in the darker colour. So this is the darker colour. So I just wanted to show you a little trick of how to separate threads in a easier way. So, right, what am I doing here? So that colour is the lighter colour, yes. That is the darker colour, yeah. So how to separate threads in a lighter way is, so I've got 2 threads here. So separating threads in an easier way. So if you just tap the end, it will pull them apart, and then you can get hold of one. And if you keep your finger exactly where you are and you just pull one out, there, you'll see it all bunches up behind your thumb, but actually it's fine, and it will just unravel as soon as you let go. So you've got one thread there, and then this one will just unravel. So then really, really easy way of pulling the threads apart without getting in a tangle. That's good if you really you want one thread. If you want more than one thread, you can split it how I've showed you before, which is by pulling them apart, or you can do that, but you can just do it a few times and then put the threads back together. So just experiment with what you find easier. So if you wanted 3 threads for that, you'd have to pick off one at a time and then put the threads together and pull to make it go back together again. Pull it tight. So if you pop it up through there. So I'm now just going to do the exact same thing but with the darker colour. So I'm going to mingle those 2 colours together. To build up the layers. And I'm always going down, sort of in and down, or up in from the middle and out. But I just want to make it quite random so that it looks quite natural. I'm trying to, I don't know if everyone saw this, but I'm just trying to recreate this grass here. So it's got this sort of fuzzy edge on it. It's really lovely actually to touch. Oh, thanks, Catherine. I hope you're okay. I miss you in my classes. I have been eating my body weight in chocolate this week. I don't know if everyone else has become a chocoholic since the lockdown, but I just can't stop. I just can't stop eating chocolate. And I couldn't really stop eating chocolate before, but now I feel like I've got an excuse. So all I'm doing is eating chocolate. And stitching. So the reason that I'm doing 2 different colours instead of one, again, is just to make it look more natural, really. You know, when you actually look at this grass, it's actually, you think, oh, it's just one colour, but you actually look at it and it's got more than one colour in it. And I think if you can sort of try and look at something really, really carefully and have a look and see kind of how can I represent that, then yeah, sometimes it's really good to be able to blend a few different colours together to create the effect that you're looking for. Another thing I was going to say is a few people have been sending sort of pictures of their work and stuff into me, or saying, oh, you know, I'm struggling with this, and I've noticed a few people have their hoop hasn't been tight enough, so I just wanted to really reiterate again that having a really, really tight the fabric really tight in your hoop is super important. It just makes it so much easier to stitch neatly when you've got your fabric pulled nice and tight. So that's my top tip, is make sure that your hoop is nice and tight and your fabric is pulled really taut. So I think I'm quite happy with that now. I think that's looking quite good. So I mixed the colours in, and yeah, I'm liking that. I think I would leave it there. I might be tempted to do a few sort of slightly wider ones, maybe. So maybe let's try that, see if that looks good. Yeah, I quite like that. So just to make it look, just a few ones that come out a bit further, just to make it look a bit more spiky. It's almost got like a haze around it. It's like it's got this main body and then it's got a haze of little soft bristles. So it's just trying to replicate that in some way. So there we go. I think I'll leave it at that. And then for the stalk, I'm going to do stem stitch again. So if anyone didn't see that last week, I'll go over it with you. So this is going to be a lot finer, this stem stitch, because it's only with one thread, but I think that will be quite nice with this grass. So pull it through, then pop it down. I guess that's about 4mm, 3mm. Then I'm going to pop it up in the middle of the stitch, but to the right hand side, and pull it through. I'm going to do another stitch a similar length. I'm going to pop it back down there, and then I'm going to come back up again, halfway again, and then back down. And then I'm just going to jump to here, and I'm going to create the rest of the stem here. So I'm just looking where I think it would go down, and then just creating it there. Hi everyone who's joining. We're nearly at the end, but if you want to catch up, see, I'm not happy with it where that's come up, so I'm going to pull that out, and I'm going to go to the back, and I'm going to pull it back out, back through. So you can always do this with embroidery, which is great. If you're not happy with it, you don't have to just stick with it. Sorry if you can hear my daughter in the background. I'm not sure if you can hear her or not. But she is out of bed. Yeah, so I'm going to carry on just there. And then I'm just going to keep going. Just coming up where the previous stitch has finished, but to the right. So halfway across the stitch you've just done and in line with the first stitch. And that creates this, what's called a stem stitch, which is great for kind of curving around. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do one last stitch and I'm going to call that a day. So there we go, one fuzzy grass, and if anyone can tell me what that kind of grass is, I'd love to know, embroidered. So if you want to carry on this week and do the other two, and then next week we'll do the French knots for the yellow billy buttons that are here. So these are all made up of lots of little French knots. French knot is a knot that sits on top of the fabric, and people find those quite tricky. So I'm going to give you a few tips about how to do those by keeping your thread really taut, and then we will probably, I don't know if we do the vase next week or the week after. I suppose it depends how long it takes us to do the French knots really. But it might be good to show you how to do the vase as well. And then maybe the week after we can move on to something different. If you've got anything you want to do, any suggestions of things that you kind of would like to learn, please pop them in the comments, and then I can have a think about how the best way is to do that. Someone said last week that they wanted to learn writing as well, so we can maybe do a bit of that after we finish this pattern as well, because obviously we've just found out we'll be in lockdown for at least another 3 weeks, so we've got a bit of time to do a few more different things. So as long as you're all still interested in coming on, I'll carry on doing it for as long as anyone wants to. So I hope you have a lovely evening, and take care, and let me know if you don't get a chance to put it in the comments tonight, if you just DM me or message me and let me know the sort of thing you'd like to do, then that would be great. Writing sounds good. Will the video today be on your blog? Yes, Catherine, it will. I will put that. I'll upload it probably tomorrow, because I might just go and have a wine now, or some more chocolate, because I keep eating my weight in chocolate. So yeah, I'll upload it tomorrow, and then you can watch it to your heart's content, and carry on with your grasses. It was lovely to connect with some of you again, and I'll see you next week. Take care.